Hello and welcome to 360 Gamercast, episode 198 for Tuesday, the 20th of February 2024. I'm your host, Mark Webb, gamertag Pearson ID, Steam ID, Webby360G. And joining me on this very fine evening is...
I've been hanging out with Lara Croft, it's Nick Fights.
And Sensei Switch.
Hello!
Hello.
It's been a busy week. I'm going to put it out there and say I've not really played a lot this past week, to be honest. Work's been kicking my balls and other things going on. Had a busy weekend. So there's that. But the one game I have been playing is Helldivers 2. And I'm amazed you two haven't been... Well, I'm not amazed because it's digital only. So it's sad that you both haven't played it because it's really good.
No, it is. You can buy a physical copy.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll take that back then. So I expect you guys to have purchased it soon then, yeah?
Nope.
No.
I'll
It's games as a service.
Is that why? Because I have to say...
That
right,
and the fact that you've got like a weird AI thing there that, like I said before, there's like a weird AI director there that just, if it wants to fuck you over, it'll just do it for a laugh, and I'm just not down with that.
No, okay.
With games, to be honest.
Well,
I get the fun with it, to be honest, and it looks like it plays really well and everything. It is a tempting one, but I've got so many games that I'm playing at the moment, and having another live service battle pass game is just like, ugh.
Well, to be fair, right, you don't need a battle pass for this game. It's just fun, just playing it. And I think I mentioned last week when I was talking about it, it's the most fun I've had in co-op since the 360 era. Like my PS5 until now for multiplayer has kind of been redundant, gathering dust, just sitting there in the corner with a little sad face. Since I've got Helldivers for it, and it's also on PC as well, but since I've got Helldivers on my PlayStation, my PS5 has been like an Xbox 360. Loads of people on my friends list all playing it. I've been having full party chats with like 7 or 8 people in a party at the same time on the PlayStation, with a couple of games on the go, just chatting the shit as we're playing. It's been a really good time, to be honest. I've been really enjoying it. And it's just, I think what I like about it and what people are really clinging to is a couple of things, right? There hasn't really been a good co-op game like this for many, many years. And it's just the simplicity of it, right? You have your little hub ship and you're all on there. Then you choose a mission on a planet and then you drop down and you do the mission. And it's basically an open world area. There's a load of side missions that you can do and there's a main mission to do. You do those, get to the extraction point, call for the ship, and then hold out for 2 minutes until the extraction ship comes. And that is basically the gist of the game, right? And it's just that simplicity just makes it a lot of fun because it can get really crazy at times with the amount of enemies coming at you, but the weapons you can get, especially as you level up, just really help you out, like your turret guns or your mortar strikes and things like that are just absolutely amazing. And it just feels epic because the music is really epic as you're dropping down in your drop pod, and as you rank up you get better and better. Not the weapons you carry like your guns and things, but just like the extra artillery stuff that you can get. So one of them that I've unlocked recently, which is really good, is like a laser that comes from the sky, but they make it really cool. So basically you call it in and your ship appears in the sky, and then the laser is fired from your ship in the sky, and it automatically tracks the enemies and kills them. And it's really, really good for the big bosses that you can come across in some of the world missions that you do. So that's really cool. And it makes it really funny as well because there's no friendly fire at all in the game, so you can easily kill each other. And even like the extra artillery and stuff that you put down can kill you and your teammates. So you really have to use communication. And it just makes for some really funny moments where it's like, oh, for fuck's sake, Webby, your barrage has killed me again. And I'll go and collect my stuff. It just makes it just funny. You know, I've had such a laugh playing this game. Now, there is a free battle pass on it, and you get loads of stuff. Loads of stuff. And then there's a paid for battle pass. However, I mean, I bought the Uber edition, which came with it anyway. But the currency in the game is called super credits, and you can actually just earn the super credits from playing the game. So on some of the worlds, you find these like hidden caches, and they'll have super credits in. So like I've been playing a lot with D Twin, and D Twin's actually played the game enough already where he's earned enough super credits just from playing the game to just buy the premium battle pass. So he hasn't even had to pay for it. Yeah. So, you know, I think they've done it right because you don't feel like you're getting ripped off in the game in that aspect. So I think that's really cool. And obviously you got different armors and different guns and sidearms and things like that. But what as I say, what makes it fun is just the ease of the drop in and drop out co-op. And there's a variety of different ways that you can do that, right? So you've got your friends list on your PlayStation, as an example. You can just join through that. All your PlayStation friends, from my experience, are already in your in-game friends list as well. And then with the cross-play, you can add your PC friends, so they'll all pop up on your in-games friends list as well. And you could just press X on them and join their game. The other way that you can join your friends game, which I think is really cool, right? So when you're selecting a planet, so you click X on the planet and you're looking over the planet, the different missions, it shows you like a orange triangle, and they represent your friends in a game. And you can just click on that triangle. It shows you who's in the game, and you can just join them that way as well.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I like it because, you know, I've had this for a couple of weeks now, and I've never played it single player. Like I've always had people to play it with, either that being my friends on PlayStation / PC, because obviously the crossplay, or when they haven't been online. It also shows you random players. Like, so when you're looking at the map, it shows you random players in a game as well. So you can click on them and join them, which is great. Or another option comes up and you press X for quick play, and it will just randomly just put you into someone's game on that planet, which is really cool. Or you can start, but in the options, if you put your game open to public, people will just randomly join you as well, which I've had on many occasions. So that's really good. Now, the only negative about the game at the minute is that they weren't expecting so many people to be playing it.
Yeah, I heard this. Yeah.
So over the weekend, they've been. I mean, I haven't experienced these issues, but I haven't really been online this weekend. I went on for about an hour this afternoon, and it was okay. But apparently, even this evening, it's having issues. People in our Discord are moaning about it. So basically, they weren't expecting this level of people, and apparently, over the weekend, they've had around 900,000 people trying to play at the same time. And the server capacity apparently is only maximum of 450,000. So they're trying to up the server capacity at the minute. It's sold like hotcakes. I mean, from what I've read, is especially on PC, they were not expecting it to sell, as much as it has. I think it's had more concurrent. Yes, from what I read, it's had more concurrent players than even Destiny and Destiny 2 on PC, which had a fuckload of players at the same time. So, it's broken a lot of records, and I think Sony have, you know, on a positive note, Sony have done a good job by putting it out on PC and PlayStation at the same time, because it's got that player base and people are really into it. But on as I say, on the negative, they had no idea it'd be this popular, and it's the old thing of, oh
It's
yeah, your servers are fucked, and people having
yeah.
problems.
It's released at a pretty quiet time for your casual player, I would say.
Yeah,
Because of all the fantastic games that are out and about at the moment, a lot of them are niche titles
yeah,
for obviously certain types of players. But like your shooter games will always have a wider audience, and the fact that it's, like we said before, it's at a reasonable price, similar
yeah,
to that Pal World.
yeah,
It's at that decent price point, so it's a low barrier for entry.
yeah,
Loads of people are playing it, so it's like jump on, join me. You can play with me and Bob in co-op or whatever, and blah blah blah. And I've been watching like the escalation of the talk of the game over the past few days, because obviously I think it was like midway through last week they were announcing like this big robot invasion by
yeah,
one of the factions and stuff, and like everyone trying to help to fight it back. And I think that's what's pushed more and more people to try jumping on the game. And then obviously for the last few days, there's been like server issues where there's been so many people trying to play it.
yeah, yeah,
And even now, like some of the top streamers are actually thinking like, oh, maybe I should start playing this, because they weren't even playing it. Like
yeah,
some of them were, but some of the bigger ones weren't.
yeah. Yeah, it is an interesting one, I think, because it is such a fun game, and I can see why people are all over it. And it's quite cool because you get the option. What you look at your star map or whatever, and you got on the left side the automatons, and on the right side like the bug planets. And I think most people, including myself, prefer the bugs because they're easier. Uh, whereas with the automatons, they come down on drop ships and they're shooting at you as well. Whereas obviously the bugs can only just like fly at you and stuff. Um, but I've played with on the automaton ones quite a bit, but it is even on the kind of the medium difficulties where you'd breeze through the bug worlds. It is really hard on the automatons, and I think that's what people are complaining about. It's just that difficulty spike on the automaton worlds. So I think they've got some tweaking that needs to be done. But yeah, I'm just loving it, mate. I think it's a really good game. And you can play it how you want. So the way that me and D Twin and What's My Tag and a few other people in the community have been doing it is you go on the planet, you look at the map, you can there's all these red blobs on the map. When we go, so basically you've got to close like the bug holes or whatever on the bug worlds, right? And you get rid of their kind of little spawn bases, if that makes sense. And then there's always one main mission and there's two side missions to do. But what it does is only one of the side missions is shown on the map, and the second one you've got to explore to find it. Which can be a little bit annoying because obviously if you do everything on a game session, you get more XP and more of the medals for your battle pass. So it makes it worth doing. So that's how we've been doing it. And each match lasts, and each time we go in on a world, it lasts about half an hour ish. So, but yeah, it was quite varied. It's really, really cool. I mean, it does have some really cool things, right? So, on some of the mission types, there's one where you have to launch this ICBM, this big missile. So basically, you have a few things to do while you're tapping in the code. The up, down, left, and right on the D-pad. It's like the old cheat codes, right? Of your. And so you're doing that, and you're hunkering down, and you've got your defensive positions out, and there's a few things you got to do, and then say after 5 minutes doing the shit, the missile launches. But what it also does, like they've got some really good effects in the game. So when the missile launches, if you follow it in the sky, you see where it lands, And then in the distance, you'll see like this huge mushroom cloud just come up in the sky. And then about 5 seconds later, all this wind comes past your character and it goes, and you hear the sonic boom, and it's really fucking loud in your ears, especially if you've got headphones. It's like boom, and you're like fucking hell, and it just adds such a really cool detail of that immersion in the game, which I think really pulls you into it. It does such a good job of that from when you're on your ship and you go into your hell pod and you select your stuff, and then like in Halo ODST where you're in those pods going down to the planet. So it shoots you from your ship down to the planet. You see your pod going down, right? And the music's really fucking awesome, right? It kicks in and you're like, oh yeah, I feel like such a fucking badass. And then you land on the planet and the music kind of like stops and you're on this like desolate fucking world, or it could be like a tropical paradise or whatever. And then you're like, right, what, and then you go and do your stuff, and then all this different type of music kicks in at different events throughout the game, depending on what you're doing. And I just think they've done such a good job of the music, the sound design. It just really adds such a massive level of immersion to the game. And I think without that, it would be missing a lot. So, yeah, big props to that team for the sound design, because it is fucking amazing. So, yeah, I'm really pleased with it. It's not a full price game. On PC, it's 25 quid. On PlayStation, it's 35. But I've seen it for like 28. So, it's a good price for what you're getting, I think. So yeah, that's what all I can really say on it. Really, I think it's a great game. It's been one of the great surprises of the year, because it wasn't on my radar at all, and it's easily the most fun I've had this year on a video game. And I know we're only in February, but it's great when you get a surprise like that, because obviously we know about the big games, right? Your Final Fantasies, your Dragon's Dogmas, and things like that, right? Which we've known about for ages, right? We're like, yeah, in 2024 I'm going to get these 4 or 5 big games, right? And they're on your radar, they're in your calendar. But it's just really nice when something like this comes out the blue. You haven't been following it, and it's like less than half the price of a regular title as well. It's like, yeah, man, that is so cool. I think it's great. So, yeah, lots of boxes ticked on this game for me.
I think that should be the price for all live service games, to be honest. Like, if you're going to do a live service game, it should be like 25, 30 quid, around that price point.
Yeah, or free.
Yeah, or free, if you're going to be like doing the microtransactions and battle passes and all that kind of stuff.
But I think with this game, Darren, I know what you're saying, because like you're thinking of, say, the Fortnites of the world, where it's really in your face. It's quite galling.
I'm on about the lines of you're paying for something that's limited use.
Right, so like in about 20 years or 10 years or whatever, the servers won't.
Yeah, exactly. So you were praising all the sound design and what the development team and everything have worked on. So they must be looking forward to the year when all of their work's snuffed out forever.
Yeah, that will be sad. But until that time happens, and I hope it won't be for a long time.
Oh no, I can see this game having legs for at least 4 or 5 years at least. I mean, Fortnite kind of only has the legs it has because of the countless collaborations. Like, as soon as people start wobbling away, they're like, oh, Dragon Ball Z characters are now in it. Oh, Family Guy is now in it, and things like that. And it brings people back with all the different modes. That, and the fact that it's basically now the only thing Epic do, which is kind of sad, considering Epic used to make some really good games.
Yeah.
And now they've literally become almost like Steam, but instead of actually having a gaming platform, well, technically they have the Epic Game Store, don't they?
Yeah.
I suppose, at least they make games, because obviously Steam just do Steam now. That's it. They don't actually make any games.
Yeah.
Which is bizarre, considering they were one of the most revered developers in the world. Everyone remembers the fucking logo of the big bald bloke with the little steam valve on his head. Do you remember?
Yeah. I'm still whenever I think of him, I hear that music straight away in my mind. Yeah, crazy.
So who knows? Maybe like Ubisoft and a lot of the other big publishers will go that way at some point. EA, etc. And just make like one game and sit on it.
Yeah,
Well, technically, I suppose you can class Fortnite now as like 4 different games.
pretty much. Well, there's like when you load up Fortnite now, it's like it's like a hub where there's loads of games within it, right? Which you can
Yeah, you got
play.
the main stuff. You got the racing mode. You got the Lego survival Minecrafty mode. You've got the Rock Band style mode and the battle royale, and obviously the original Fortnite, the co-op PVE.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think out of most of the live service games going, that'll be the last one, like one of the last ones to disappear, because I think it's so popular still to a degree.
yeah,
It'll be
yeah,
around for years to come, and it's already been around for like what 5 years plus now,
yeah.
probably more.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even remember when I got my first achievement for it.
Yeah.
That'll let me know, and I literally picked it up. I think it was like a couple of months after it came out. But yeah, anyway, carry on.
No, and that's all I wanted to say on Helldivers, really. Yeah. So, Nick, talk to me, baby.
Yeah, so we're playing. I've finished Metal Gear Solid 2 now, finally.
Oh, brilliant.
After a couple of weeks. I mean, that was okay. The story, I have no idea what's going on. I mean, that's Kojima, right? Something about AI and giant, like, Metal Gear robot things. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the gameplay more than the story, whereas normally I'm more into the story because, like I said, that just didn't make sense. I did a few things like, you know how when you die in those games, that go like, snake, snake, and that like zoom into the corner that says like game over or you died.
Yeah.
I did that, but I didn't actually die and I was still playing. But it just kept made the screen smaller, so it was just messing with me. Because I think basically the guy who you thought was the boss of everything, the colonel, was actually the AI.
Right.
So he was telling you to do stuff, and obviously they had the old switch thing where you started playing as Solid Snake and then you went on to Raiden. But obviously, I mean, that upset a lot of people because I watched a few YouTube videos to sort of, yeah, and a lot of people were quite annoyed about that because they, all the trailers they brought out, like before the game and right up to release, they actually lied and put, like Solid Snake later on in the game where you don't play as him.
Right.
So I'm just thinking, I don't know if he could get away with that now, could he?
No.
Because now if like the graphics aren't as good as they were, then people go mad. Imagine if they just changed the character or something. But that was I enjoyed it, and I'll probably end up going on to 3 because I know the remake of 3's coming out in the next year or two. But I want to play the original because I think a lot of people say I keep flipping between 1, 2, and 3. I think 2 was everyone's favourite at the time, but I think now everyone looking back, most people I know say 3 is the best Snake Eater.
Right.
So I'll probably go on to that now.
3 or 1.
Yeah, so I'll probably go on to that. But yeah, it's a good game. I see why that was, important and groundbreaking. Some stuff that we know now, you think, well, yeah, obviously, but things like if you shoot them in the leg, they'll hold their legs and things like that, rather than stuff like that. And you can use some of the weapons and guns and distract them, and it's clever. Like with me, I try to do things stealthy, and then everything goes to shit, and then I just whip out the big guns and just blow them all up. That's what I tend to do. So I'm not very good at stealth games.
Fair enough, mate.
Yep, so that's one game done.
Well, yeah, that was quick.
Yeah. Well, I only had about an hour left after the last week, so I don't have much more to talk about.
You're like running around holding your testicles and doing somersaults.
Yeah, the naked bit. That's when it all started going weird. Well, the whole game was weird, but do you know what I mean? That's when because I think that there's a torture scene in a lot of the games.
There's
Because
definitely
you-
one in the third
first one.
game. The
Oh, yeah, so
third
then,
one as
yeah.
well, yeah. Ooh.
Yeah, it's still weird that that version is better than the newer HD versions that are out now. The HD collect or the whatever remaster collections they've called it.
Yeah.
I think it's because Konami doesn't know how to do collections like that. I mean, didn't they like completely balls up the Silent Hill collection as well?
Apparently, it's broke. The one I played isn't as good as the one on the PS3. I don't know why, but yeah, but they did updates for them on what was it on the PS3 because they didn't charge for updates on PS3, but they did charge for them on Xbox 360. Like they charged like the updates per kilobyte or megabyte or something. So Konami just didn't update any games on 360. But that was at the end of games actually not being broken when they came out.
I don't know. That don't think that actually happened. Really, you still get it every now and again.
Oh no,
I
I mean
laughed the other
it
day
wasn't
because
as bad then as it is now.
obviously Harada, the main guy behind Tekken, people were asking him like, "Oh, you off on holiday now that Tekken 8's launched and everything?" And he said, "Yeah, back when we used to release games back on the PS1, PS2 era, etc. Like we'd release a finished game, and like we'd be able to plan and take holidays and vacations afterwards to celebrate." But he went, now everything needs to be updated and you've got DLC to think about and all this other bits and bobs. And I just sat there and went, yeah, shit now, isn't it, mate? In my head. I just feel like, yeah, it's improved, isn't it? I bet you're well glad. But yeah, it's almost like the work never stops. Because you'd obviously have separate teams under certain companies that would work on certain projects, and when they were finished, it's like, right, that's done. It's gone gold, which actually means the game is finished and completed, not like today's gold, where you're like, that'll do, send it off to get the fucking discs pressed or whatever. We'll patch it and do a day one patch for it, etc. later.
Yeah, gold enough.
Yeah, and then obviously once it had gone gold, they could all like bugger off and enjoy some well deserved holiday and respite after spending probably hours and hours and hours in the office, like fine tuning the bits of the game before it comes out. Things of the past. So being a games dev back in the day, yeah, it was quite appealing. Now, not so much.
Sounds like.
So is it on to me?
Yeah.
Is it?
It's on to you, Darren.
Right. Yeah. The first thing I will mention, there was a sale that was going on this week. For obviously quite a few games, I had a lot of games on my Xbox wish list or whatever it is. You add them to it, and it notifies you when they're on sale.
Yeah.
And I'd had the Dead Island 2 season pass in my wish list for a while, and it literally came up the other day saying like, "Oh, it's 40% off." And I was like, "Nice one! I'll grab that. I'll definitely grab that while I can." Obviously, we've only had one expansion release so far. I think there's like 2 or 3 planned. And I hadn't played it, obviously. The House expansion is like HAUS.
All right.
And I thoroughly enjoyed myself for like the 3 hours or so that it actually lasts. It's not a long DLC. So you basically access it from your mansion at the start of the game. You go around the back and there's like an invitation on the side table. And as you pick it up, it starts dripping blood and your character kind of freaks out and faints and wakes up in an area, which is like a giant villa. I've got no idea where it's actually supposed to be. It's obviously somewhere else in America. But the main storyline to this is it's kind of like a death cult.
All right.
Of people that knew the end of the world was coming, so they've basically fucked off all their riches and their possessions and all this other kind of weird stuff, and they've gone to this mansion to hang around with other people. It's pretty grim and dark. I felt pretty shitty like part way through playing it, because it's like self-harm, mutilation, cannibalism, and all this other fucking weird culty shit going on. There's also like severed heads that actually are reanimated and talking to you as well,
Really?
that you'll actually find, and you carry them to reattach them to their bodies.
That's fucking weird.
And they're reconnected via like nanotech or something weird. But it's very bizarre. The game still looks fantastic. It was one of my best games of last year. And whenever I go back to it, I can see why. It plays really well. It looks really well. The environments are fantastic. The semi-cool thing about this, which I wasn't expecting, and I don't know whether to kind of spoil it, I'll just say the mansion has certain parts of it that are designed to resemble other things, using like technology and holograms and stuff like that. So you think it's all in a mansion, and technically it all is in a mansion, but a couple of the areas you go to are done out like you're not in a mansion.
Right, okay.
And that's actually pretty cool. I will say there is a weird area where there's like a 1950s diner in the middle of a forest with all like the neon lights and stuff. That's like all cannibalistic, weird, horrible shit. Like, it's just weird, and because you're obviously, as you're going through, you're picking up all the audio diaries of people being tortured and like having their arms cut off and then it being served up to them to eat while people are cheering on and like chanting names and stuff. Very dark, very fucking weird. But I will say the latter part of the DLC, the storyline takes a twist. I'm not going to spoil it, but I didn't like that twist, and it kind of didn't feel like it fit in.
Right.
They literally try tying the storyline into the beginning of the original game. And it kind of didn't make sense or work for me. I was like, no, I was down with all this cultish weird shit. Now you've just gone like, you've literally become Fonz and jumped the shark. But I am very interested to see what they do with the next one. There's new perk cards to find, or mutators. I can't remember what they're actually called. I lose track with all the different games I play. Where you picked up the cards that give you different character abilities and stuff. And there's like there's a new weapon, which is like a crossbow, which you use to destroy these brains that are kind of exploded out of people's heads, and like it's travelled up these veiny vines and attached itself to different parts. They're like puzzles. Yeah. You can see them through a window and pop it, and then the veins will recede, and it opens a door to give you access to another area.
Okay.
So, yeah, I enjoyed my time with it. As short as it was, but I think that the way they have actually segmented that game off into the different zones rather than it being open world did actually help it, because I think those environments and everything are done really well.
Yeah.
And there's still plenty to explore in them. It's not like, oh, it's not going to be much there. It's like, no, there's a fair bit in those areas, etc.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's Dead Island 2 House expansion or add-on or whatever you want to call it.
Excellent, Smithers.
Oh, extra achievements as well, because obviously you've got to have extra achievements or trophies.
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, got all of those as well. So I've kept the game up to the 100% on those.
Excellent. From my end then, I'm just been very bitty because obviously Helldivers has been my main game. I've been playing a little bit more of that Talos Principle 2, that puzzle game.
Oh right, yeah, like the Mist style one.
Yeah, because it's bloody long, mate. I'm telling you. Um, I'm really liking it still. Obviously, I picked it up quite a while ago now. I think it might have been, yeah, because it was on my game of the year list. So it was around November, December. I picked it up. Still haven't finished it because some of the puzzles are really like mind benders. So it takes you ages to figure them out. But I think, as I mentioned a long time ago, it's just got a really cool kind of backstory to it because you're robots, because the human civilization's been wiped out, and these are the robots that the humans kind of left, if that makes sense. But the robots are calling themselves humans, and it's just kind of digs into the past of human civilization, and it's quite, I don't know, it's quite thought provoking and deep, which I wasn't expecting from a puzzle game. But I'm really enjoying playing it, and I think I'm playing it right. I'm not just blasting through using guides and shit. I'm taking my time, just soaking in the atmosphere, enjoying the puzzles. It's just a really good game, man. I don't think it's even that. I think it might have been on sale recently as well. So, like, if you're looking for a puzzler, and I know there's a lot of games out at the minute of different varieties, but if you're looking for a puzzle, I really do recommend the Talos Principle 2. It is so good. So good. So,
What was the name of that weird puzzle game that was like a huge hit on like the 360?
what, Portal?
No, it was. I'm pretty sure it was made by. Was it made by the same guy who made Braid or something, or one of the other kind of puzzle games? But it was kind of like first person, but like, and you went into different rooms, and every different room or location was a completely different like new puzzle.
Oh, mate, I can't remember off the top of my head. I
It's
do
just
not.
one of those games that's in the back of the mind that I remember a lot of people talking about when it came out, but I
Yeah,
can't remember which one it actually was.
yeah. No, I can't remember either. I'll probably remember after the podcast, but no, I don't remember at the moment. But no,
Someone's probably sitting there like, "Oh, that's thingy. I love that." But
yeah. But no, it's really good, mate. I really recommend it. As I say, it's got a lot of different areas, So there's like 8 puzzles per area, plus 2 secret ones, and then it unlocks stuff. And then the way you travel between these areas is on this kind of railroad things. It's all interconnected. It's just really well done. I'd say it's just really well done. A lot of fun, and I think people should give it a go. That's it. Back to Nick.
Yeah, so I've been playing. I think I said I started playing it last week. But I've been playing it a bit this week. Jet Set Radio. We're playing the HD version on the Xbox because I've got it on Dreamcast, but I don't know. I just want to play it on the Xbox because it's HD. But because they're doing a remake for it later this year,
Oh,
or some of this
nice.
they announced Capcom are doing was a Jet Set Radio, Crazy Taxi. They're doing sort of remakes or more likely just like reskins. They're not going like really sort
they're
of.
not doing the full RE4 treatment kind of
No,
thing.
no, no. But well, I don't think they are. But then these games, especially Jet Set Radio, was like one of the first big sort of cell shaded type things anyway. So they can't. If they're going to keep it cell shaded, there's only so much sort of 2D origami paper characters they can do, really. But I'd say I'm enjoying it, but I think a lot of people don't realise how badly the game plays. It's just like the controls are not the best, and it's one of these things where you like, oh, I gotta run over here really quickly or skate over here and grind up this thing. Great, so I'll take a massive run up it, and then booster speed. So you press the button to boost, and then you jump onto the rail to grind, and then he hits it, and then he just stops and doesn't want to grind, and you're like, oh, you're just being a twat now, are you? And that's what happens a lot, and obviously it's quite annoying.
Early analogs weren't fantastic.
Yeah, and it's just, I don't know. I just think it wasn't as as well made, especially the later levels, because a lot of people only played. I think there was the demos of like the first level or something, which a lot of people played, and then you get past, like the first few levels, and some of the later ones, they're just not as well thought out. But they're not actually skating games. They're pretty much puzzle games and combo games. Where I see a lot of people, when I look at some of these on YouTube, like tutorials, how they do it, they just start the game, but they know the level inside and out, where they've got to go, and they pretty much, because obviously you've got to spray paint the graffiti, like where you need to do it and over other ones. But once you start getting through the game, like the police turn up and then SWAT turns up, and later on in the games I'm playing, you get like tanks and like attack helicopters turn up and try to shoot you, which is always fun. But it's like you're trying to paint these things and they're just like constantly shooting, and you're like, oh, for God's sake. So you think, all right, so I have to do this one first whilst there's just the police about, and then go to the different area of that place, if you see what I mean, and do that, like, so I can't get attacked by the tanks and the helicopters because you're inside and things like that. So if you didn't know the levels, like where to go first, that's what happens a lot. So sometimes I'm taking 2 or 3 goes to do one level, and I mean, must have played it for 3 or 4 hours, and I still don't think I'm off like the tutorial bit. Well, it's because I still haven't unlocked all the characters, but I think later on it makes the game even harder. But like I said, I don't know anyone who's ever completed this game. Even my mate who plays this and loves this and Future on the original Xbox, and he's pretty good at it. Even he can't complete it, so I don't know if they'll make it easier for people when it comes out. But I mean, if they just make it a little bit easier, like like when you're grinding and stuff like that, so actually you go where you want to go. Because sometimes you want to jump, and you'll jump and either do a move, and you'll do exactly the same bit next time, but instead of jumping and doing a move and landing on the thing, you'll just jump off and just put your feet on the floor, and you think, well, what'd you do that for? But
oh yeah, it can be definitely could be improved from the way it plays. I remember when a lot of people picked it up back when I think even Dan, when it came out on the 360, it was an arcade release, wasn't it, at some point? And I think even Dan said, "Oh, I forgot how dodgy the control was for this game."
It's just like the collision detection, and when you land on stuff, and you think, "Oh, come on, you should have landed on that." Instead, you landed right next to it, near enough hit your shins on the rail you were supposed to land on. You think, oh, come on, I couldn't have landed on that much. But like some of the levels, like I said, you could just grind and do moves in a circle throughout all the levels. And Talos, like, I can't do that though. I could just about manage to do that on the first levels, like with the bus, because that's quite easy. But I don't know. I'm still enjoying it. I doubt I'll finish it though. But I've got an achievement in 2017 and an achievement in 2024, so that's fun.
2017 actually was when Fortnite actually came out.
Oh, lovely. What, the original or
the original before the Battle Royale was a thing, yeah. Because I checked my achievement list and it was like August 2017, and I know it came out like a month or so before that, because it took a while for mine to turn up. Or for me to pull the trigger on it back in the
bought the game for 40 quid, and then.
But yeah, I imagine they'll probably make the controls a bit more fluid. I don't know if anyone's tried that Bomb Rush Cyberpunk, which was kind of like a fan game, like by an indie studio that was very, very much inspired by Jet Set Radio, and it actually has the same composer from the Jet Set Radio games.
They use a lot of the same music and art styles and stuff, so I might give that a try eventually.
Yeah, I mean, all you want is that with a bit more than, obviously, like you say, just finding stuff, but having like collectibles and other bits and bobs.
Oh.
Like, it would have been nice if, like, even back then you could have picked up, like, I don't know, tapes and stuff to listen to new music while you were going around and stuff.
Yeah. I think you could, but remember on Xbox One, Jet Set Radio Future, a lot. I don't know if it was towards the end of the Xbox or they just took it out. Like you could put your own music in and listen to your own music.
Well, yeah, you could on the Xbox. I had like entire playlists on my Xbox.
Yeah, I had loads of stuff on there
Bob
for
Marley
like
and all this different
yeah,
stuff.
like Sega GT 2002 and Jet Set Radio. That came in a multi-pack, which I've got, and then bought them separately because I'm not a pervert. And,
yeah, I wanted the box versions.
Yes, that's what I got eventually. But yeah, you could listen to your own music as well. But obviously they couldn't get away with something like that now. I mean, well, the only thing you do now is just like put Spotify on headphones, don't you?
Yeah, I had like the old reggae playlist and stuff for when I was playing like Dead or Alive Extreme volleyball and stuff. And I also had a really good one for Burnout.
Oh, Burnout had a really good soundtrack anyway.
Oh, it did, but it didn't have like Do Hast and stuff like that.
But then if you're playing that
to have like Burnout and stuff.
Yeah, if you're playing that for weeks, eventually that music, I suppose, gets a little bit repetitive.
Yeah, true, but I used to buy so much music back in the day. Like, I used to spend like a couple of £100 a month on music alone. And obviously my friends all did as well, so we all had a lot of different CDs, so we always used to like load each other's hard drives up with all this music for different games and stuff, so it was pretty cool.
Brilliant.
Oh, so is it my turn again, is it?
It's back to you, Darren.
Yeah, I actually started playing Wo Long this week.
Oh,
properly.
Brilliant. Okay.
I got it obviously last year when it came out, which was around about this time last year, wasn't it? I think it originally came out,
hasn't it? Yeah.
But yeah, again, I was notified that there was like a 50% off discount for all the DLC because I believe that they've either just released like a complete edition or they are getting ready to release a complete edition with all the DLC.
Okay, makes sense.
So all of those were like just over a tenner. So I was, or whatever it was. So I was like, I'll have that, and I might as well start getting stuck into the game as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, when I jumped in, I noticed one of the weapons I had was the puppet saber, and then I was like, I did notice Lies of P had an update a couple of days ago, so I'll quickly stick that on because they did a Lies of P Wo Long collaboration.
Okay.
Pretty weird collab, I know that, but yeah. So yeah, I'll briefly say, if you've got Lies of P, if you pop that in now and play it, you will get Guan Yu's halberd and his outfit for obviously Lies of P, and in Wo Long, I think it's just a puppet saber. I think maybe I don't know, which is only like a 1-star, so it's not particularly fantastic. So you won't be able to put any abilities or anything on it. Okay. But yeah, it's a pretty good game. It's a far more. I was about to say it's a far more realistic take on the Tale of the Three, or the Legend of the Romance of the Three Kingdoms story.
Yeah.
I say that even though there's like demons and spirits and stuff in it, but like for the actual look of the characters. Because if anyone's played the Dynasty Warriors games, they're very much over the top, sort of like caricatures of those historical figures. Yeah. Whereas the versions of them in the game are still pretty close to how they kind of are, but they're wearing more realistic sort of armour and things of the time, I believe.
Right.
Not so outlandish and over the top. But yeah, you basically you start off during the Yellow Turban Rebellion period of the history and work your way up through the different storylines, meeting each of the different generals and people that would then become leaders of different sort of like factions of like parts of China. during that time period. It's kind of interesting how history kind of repeats itself in the fact of all these people at the start are kind of together and all working towards the common goal, and then they eventually all split apart and form their own kind of lands and stuff with different beliefs and ideologies and become like opposing each other. So you fight through these battlefields, much like I'd say sort of Nioh, but they're more. Actually, no, they're probably about the same as Nioh. They're like an enclosed area. So it's not like your typical Demon Souls where all the areas like link and you can run around back on itself and that will link to that zone and that other area, etc. These are like separate battlefields, although you can unlock shortcuts here and there just to sort of skip out a little bit, but it's not really as much as what you'd expect from a Souls game. The main draw for this is the fact that the combat is very fast and fluid. It plays really well in that regard. And you've got pretty interesting cool mechanics, like you can deflect and knock enemies' attacks away.
Okay. That's cool.
And there are times when basically an enemy will do the classic glowing attack, which means it can't be blocked. It has to be perfect parried at a certain time. Or you'll take quite a lot of damage, and damage isn't the only thing in this that can do you over, because you've got something called a momentum gauge. So as you're going through the levels, the enemies will have momentum levels. Every time you defeat an enemy, your momentum gauge goes up a certain amount. Once it fills all the way up, you'll go up a number, and those numbers go all the way up to 25 is maximum. But you could be like level 2 or 3, take a wrong turning on a level and come up against a mob that's level 15.
Okay.
Doesn't mean you can't defeat it and beat it. It would mean you get a hell of a lot of momentum from it, but it means it's going to be a hell of a lot more powerful than a mob that was sort of like only a level or a couple of levels above you.
Yeah.
Also, if you see purple flags dotted around where they are, they've also got a boost because they've killed other players, and you will get avenge points or some sort of other currency that you can spend somewhere later in the game for basically taking that enemy out, because you're avenging the deaths of other players to this creature. But while they're under this, they are even harder because they're glowing like purple and stuff. It's quite fun, quite easy to play. You've got a big selection of weapons to muck about with. Anything from like pole arms to spears to short swords to whips.
Okay.
And just like bracers, basically, a bit of fisticuffs.
Yeah.
But when you team up with your different companions, after you complete a mission with said companions, you're unlocking like a magic ability that you can then use when certain conditions in the game are basically fulfilled, which requires you to push triangle and circle together, or Y and B if you're playing on Xbox.
Okay.
Which will activate like a spirit guardian, which will do a big open AoE attack on all the enemies around. Sometimes it might leave like shards dotted around the battlefield that if the enemy then goes into, they'll take even more damage. Okay. Or you can use it in a separate way where it acts more like a support skill, so it will give you and your companions a buff instead.
Oh, brilliant.
So it's kind of shit or bust. I usually end up doing the old classic where I'll do it on an enemy and then he'll take one hit and then fuck off into another part of the map, and he won't come back near where all the damage and stuff is, and it's like, that was a waste. All of the different weapons and equipment that you'll pick up, from armor to weapons, etc., have star rarities. Obviously, the higher the rarity, the more stat bonuses are going to be on said item. And these can give you things like increased gain on getting your spirit gauge up, reduced reduction from deflecting, build up fire damage on enemies easier. There's quite a lot of different ones there.
Yeah.
and it all just culminates together in quite a wacky and weird kind of game. It is Souls-ish in a way, where obviously the enemies can be very tough. You can die in a couple of hits if you're not obviously too careful, or you've gone the wrong way or unprepared. To help deal with this, as you're going through the levels, you'll find flag points on the maps, where when you stick a flag point down, if you get taken out, you won't lose all of your morale. You'll only lose morale up to the number which your last flag donates.
Right. Okay.
So I think once you've found all the flags and all the hidden flags on each of the maps, I believe your fortitude level stays at level 20 regardless. So if you fall in battle and go back to your last checkpoint, you will be rank 20.
Okay.
Or momentum rank 20, which is usually about right, because the main bosses at the end will generally be about level 20. But you've got also all the kind of soulsy things there, like you can get invaded by red spectres.
All right.
As well at times, that can turn up and everything. But I will say overall the combat is very satisfying when things kind of all go to plan.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, you also have access to crossbows and bows and other things like that as well, which is good because you will come across filthy archers quite a lot in the game, and mages throwing spells at you while you're trying to run across the bridge fighting other enemies.
Oh, fun.
You've got also useful things like you can do sort of jumping surprise attacks on enemies from above as well. So say there's like a group of 3 or 4 people below you. If you can find the one with the highest level on them, they're generally like the little commander of that little group of unit. If you jump down and assassinate them with like an air attack, all the others will like be freaked out and like won't instantly jump in and start attacking. They'll be panicked because obviously their higher person has just been taken out in front of them. So there's some nice strategy to it. There's secrets to be found on the levels. In a way, like you can increase your, we'll say Estus flask, because it's basically the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
So you can find more charges for that around the maps, which will help you. You can find things that increase the healing potency of it as well. And when you level up, you can actually spec into, I think it's 6 different things. So you've got like your main one, which is like your health and your defense, and then you've got 5 different variations of magic.
Okay.
I think it's water, fire, earth, metal for some random reason, and wood. I think it's wood. It's not air, it's wood. And you can learn spells as well. Depending on your rank in each of those vocations, you can get spells that you can basically use in battle as well. So you can enchant your weapon with different elements. You've got one that you can activate, which means when you're getting hit by an enemy for a set period of time, you're not actually going to lose any morale, because each hit you take will lower your morale. Right. So you can sometimes be going into a fight and you're like, I'm level 8 and he's only level fucking 6. Let's bring it on. And then you take a couple of dodgy hits. And the next thing you know, you're like, why am I morale 5 now? Oh, fantastic. You got to build it back up again.
Fun.
Yeah, so it is kind of fun. There's a few enemy types in the game I do not like because they fucking run away. So I like a good fight where you get stuck in with an enemy, not one where you jump in, fight, and they just jump back and range you, and then you try and get close and they jump back and range you again. That can get kind of frustrating. Thankfully, there's only like 1 or 2 enemy types that do that, and I try and take them out straight away. I mean, if you're a Souls player or someone, you've probably already tried this out already because it was on Game Pass last year.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Like it actually launched on Games Pass. But I've enjoyed myself up to where I am. I think I've had to redo 2 bosses once each, and that was it
Okay.
so far. And I'm probably about just under halfway through the game, I imagine.
Nice.
Also, once you've unlocked like your main hub village area, you can access from the flag, because obviously everything in this game is kind of flag related. You go to the flag to set your allies. Once you've unlocked allies as well through playing through the story, you can then call on those allies in other missions. Because when you go to the flag, you've got select mission, and you can go back and redo any of the original missions you've done. Plus, it adds a load of bonus weird variations of those missions as well, which give you new rewards. And
Right.
those missions also have secrets on them. And thankfully, it's a good old game in the fact that when you look at the missions, it shows you what secrets you've got on the map, how many flags, whether you've picked up the weird metal-eating panda demon thing, whether you've got all the different pickups and secrets on the map, etc.
Okay.
I like it when they do that because you know exactly which levels to redo for things you've
Yeah.
missed.
Yeah.
The game also has co-op as well, so that's going to be quite useful at some point, no doubt.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm enjoying my time with it anyway. It makes a nice little change. It's not as methodical as like your Souls games. It plays a hell of a lot faster, but it's not kind of as technically frustrating in a way as like the first Nioh,
Yeah. That's
which
cool.
was a fantastic game. Don't get me wrong. I just kind of got a bit fucking pissed off with all that constant high stance, mid stance, low stance weird shit.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to be in certain stances to counterbalance certain enemies, etc. And it was kind of a bit of a pain to try and remember and to change all that constantly
Yeah. No, I'll get it.
while you're actually playing. I mean, it's nice there that it's a nice technical aspect, but for me, it was just a bit too much.
Yeah.
Considering it had a big, massive arsenal of different weapon types that you could play through, which all had their different move sets, and then it had that on top of it. So.
Cool.
Yeah, I will move on before I babble on for about another
All
10
right.
minutes about
Well,
random old
I've
thing.
literally only played 2 other games, and I've not played them much at all. So I'm just going to briefly mention them.
That's fair.
So the first one is a game that originally came out on the original Xbox, and they did a remaster, and the remaster was shite when it came out. But then I believe that they improved it later on down the line. Now I paid 68p for this.
I thought he was about to say 68 quid. I was like, bloody hell.
68 pence. And that game is called 13.
Ah, yes.
Yeah, so it's done in like kind of a comic book style, like that art style before Borderlands stole that style, if you know what I mean, that kind of cartoony style, yeah.
Sort of, yeah, I guess.
And I remember I loved this game on the original Xbox. Absolutely loved it. The campaign I really loved. And I remember playing the multiplayer. I remember that being really fun because it gave me like some GoldenEye vibes. So I played like the first maybe hour, and apparently they lost all the source code for this, so they actually just started again.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's okay, not great, but okay.
Is this the remaster, is it?
It's like a remake or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I will say, apparently, so the version I imagine you're playing of this is going to be the newer version because I
Yes.
heard when it was originally released it was pretty dire and they patched it.
Yeah. Yes, this is the new one. It's on Xbox. And I know that they did a big patch on it a few years ago to make it better.
Yeah, because it was apparently quite horrendous what they were, from what people were expecting.
Yeah, but it's all right. I think it's okay. It just feels like the movements of, because it's first person shooter, right? it feels just very dated. Just with the movements, they feel just a bit clunky. But I was enjoying it. I thought it was quite fun. So I will definitely play it some more at some point. I just for the price, I was just like, well, it was one of my favourite games on the OG Xbox. So for under £1, I was like, oh fuck it, I'll just do it.
I will say there's a lot of older games, like especially in the shooting genre, etc., that do actually play very clunky and nowhere how you kind of remember them in your head.
Yeah.
I think the only one that, if I go back to and I still think, no, that always played really fucking well, Doom. The original Doom.
Still amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
And wasn't that pretty much one of, if not like the first big major FPS?
I don't know if Wolfenstein came.
Yeah,
before
Wolfenstein
that.
I think was before it. Yeah, but the one that was like the most popular.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So, for the price, it's like fuck it. Yeah, so it's all right. And then the other game that I briefly played, it cost me £2. Again on Xbox, is Dakar Desert Rally.
Fair enough.
Basically, there's a real world event every year in the deserts in the US and like Saudi Arabia called the Dakar Rally, and all famous racing drivers do it, right? And it has all like the real cars and the real people and stuff like that. And I thought, fucking hell, for that price, I'm going to give it a bosh. And it's okay. It's quite arcade. It reminds me a little bit of kind of like the old Sega rallies with the announcing like turn left here, checkpoint, and all that sort of stuff, right? But like has very realistic damage models. There's no rewind or anything like that, so it's quite punishing at the same time. But it looks okay, not amazing. Plays all right. It was just for the price. I thought, oh fuck it, I'll pick it up and give it a go. Yeah, and that's about it really. I did pick up the latest Star Trek game as well. So Star Trek Resurgence, it's called. It came out April last year. I don't think it reviewed very well, but I'm quite a big Star Trek fan. And I very briefly played it for about 10 minutes, and it looks like an Xbox 360 game, but it's Star Trek, so I will play it through completely because I've seen some quite good Steam reviews for it from people who are fans of the TV shows. So, that's who it's aimed
at. The old
at.
TV shows, I imagine.
Yeah, the originals and that, yeah. So, yeah. So that's about it, really. I have literally just played one other game while we've been podcasting, but I'm going to wait for Nick to talk about that because I know he's been playing it too. So, Nick, down to you, mate.
So I played a new game this week, brand new out this week. What's that?
What? That's not like you.
Well, technically it's a new game, but then it might not be. The Tomb Raider 1 to 3 remasters, or whatever they call them.
Yeah.
I think that's what they call them.
Yeah.
Because, it came out, and I know it's digital only, but it was cheap, like 22 quid. Plus, there's a lot of games there. And like I said, if it's cheap and it's digital only and fair, I just don't buy like the 60, 70 quid new ones.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it looks like it came out on Valentine's Day, so obviously all the lonely people could play with Lara Croft if they didn't have no one else to play with, which is fair enough. But yeah, it's pretty good because like I said, you've got both graphics. If you press a button, you can flip between the two, like you could on the Halo Master.
Yeah, Halo. Yeah.
Was it Halo Anniversary? Because I think they did
Halo Anniversary.
And then they did the Master Chief Collection, and 2 had that.
Yeah.
But then the rest of them were just a little bit better, weren't they? Because they were already HD.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, it's got the same... Well, they've added a few bits to it. I think I might get some updates, hopefully. But like I said, you just switch between the two graphics on the fly, and it's like, I can't remember it looking this shit. And then you look, oh, it did look this shit. But also they've reduced the old game the frame rate as well, so it plays slow like the original, because the old one only went to like 30 frames per second, and all the animation. So it's pretty much just how it was on PS1. And they've added some new controls, even though they're not default. By default, they've got what they call tank controls, which is kind of like, it's what they call the Resident Evil controls and stuff.
Yeah, but they weren't really tank controls, were they? Like, in RE, you were basically, you were moving around like you were almost like top down.
Yeah, kind of basically every time you held
Tomb Raider, it always felt you were behind the character.
Well, it's because it was designed for a D-pad.
Yeah, but basically it is kind of like tanks control. I mean, looking in my old instructions books, I was going through, because I got all the originals. I think I've got all the Tomb Raider games actually on disc and stuff like that. But they called it the grid system. Right. Where you like hold the button to walk, and then you like hop back 2 jumps and things like that. Run, jump, hold, grab, and stuff like that.
Swan dive.
Yeah, swan dive, break your neck as you do.
Yeah.
And but for some reason that is the default setting, and they have changed and put in, which you have to turn on yourself, what they call modern controls.
Yeah.
Which I had a little go of, and I didn't like it, because I'll tell you what, it's exactly the same thing that happens with this game that happened with Resident Evil remake, the HD ones they did on like the modern consoles, where instead of pressing up on the D-pad or the analog stick is always walking forward, you could just press wherever there is, so if Lara's looking away from you, you press down, she'll come towards you on screen, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
So it's kind of modern control. Plus you can control the camera with the right analog stick like a normal game, which obviously you never could do that in the original, because, well, when it came out in 96, we didn't even have dual shock, did we?
No.
So there was no other way. You could like hold a button and look a little bit left and a little bit right, but you couldn't do that. And but even when you flick to the old graphics, it goes back to the old thing as well. If you see what I mean, so you can't look all the way; you can only look halfway. So I think it's basically running 2 games simultaneously at the same time, and you just flick a button. Yeah, I think that's what they did with Halo. But the only problem is when you flick that button, sometimes, exactly the same as Resident Evil, Lara will have a hissy fit and just do like a funny jiggle and not go the way you thought she was going to go. Which is great when you've got, like, death traps where boulders are rolling at you. So you're like, come this way, Lara. No, you're running towards the boulders. Now you're going to die, you dozy cow. And then she gets murdered and stuff like that. But yeah, that's pretty good. Like I said, plus they've added all the extra levels that were in the PC versions of these games that came out. I think they came out like a year or so after the original. Like, what was it, like Gold Edition? There's names for them, like for each individual. It's not just Gold Edition. It's basically the Game of the Year edition with extra levels, but they're all in this game as well. But you can also just play those levels if that's what you want to play. So they don't filter them into the original. They don't just put them into the full game.
Right.
You have to select them on top, which is pretty good, because so that way you can get both. There's a few bits which I hope a few people are moaning about, because people moan. Some of the levels, it's really dark, like it looks like a complete black screen. I had to turn the brightness up on my stream because I was streaming this, but there's no way to do that in game. So I just like up the brightness of the capture card to make it look brighter. So you can't do that. But if you flick between the older graphics, it's not as dark as that. So they've tried to be a little bit, clever with extra lighting effects and stuff, which they have done, like lighting and shadows and things like that. But I think they really need to add, like a setting where you can turn it up and down, which that shouldn't be a difficult thing to patch in. And also, which pretty much everyone I know have done this. They've took out I think in the first one and the second one, the third one, you could save. You had the little save crystals. Can you remember those?
No.
Well, basically, you couldn't save anywhere you wanted in the game. You had little blue crystals in certain parts of the game, and you could only save there. But later on, PC and things like that. You could save anywhere, and but in some of the games, you actually collect the crystals as like collectibles, which is kind of cool. But the problem is when you save, when you go into the menu to press save, the first one that comes up is load previous game, not save game.
Oh.
So I was on like level 4, and I was like, I haven't saved for a little while, for like 45 minutes, because I know the first game quite well, so I didn't save for a long time. So I was like, I'll just save the game. Hang on. Why has this loaded me up on like level 1 again?
Yeah.
And I was like, everyone who I know who's playing this have all done that. So it's like every time you save, it's like press this button. No, don't press it, because if you press it twice, but it's no
you got to press right. You got to press right on the D-pad to go to the save.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But instead of, but you can't. There's no press A to. Are you sure you want to load this game?
Yeah.
So if you press A twice, you do it.
Yeah.
So there's no are you sure. So you've just got to be very careful and slow when you do that, which is what it is. But also, like, they've even remastered the the menus and stuff. So you can flick between the old menus and new menus. So they've redone all the stuff. They've cleaned up the FMVs as best as they can as well, which is quite good. So, I mean, I don't know, because the only ones I really want to finish is Tomb Raider 1 and 2, because 3, that's when they started making it really difficult and complicated and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, you'd have, but... Yeah, I mean, there's pretty good games, and it wouldn't surprise me if they bring a physical edition of this out at some point. But a lot of people I know, like, online or communities, they're like, well, if they do this on this game, why can't they do, like the Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, bring that out? Because, Capcom are probably looking at that and thinking, how much did you pay to skin that? Because they got a lot of people who were modding the game to help make it and things like that, and like I think they basically probably got them to do it more than likely. So, and there's so many like HD mods already out there on PC for the Resident Evil games. So yeah, that'd be cool. But yeah, this game's pretty good, and yeah, her ponytail's still a bit weird in all of them. They keep like going through her back and stuff like that. But plus, I've been watching a streamer who used to play these games a lot, and she's going through to see what glitches are still in it. Like you can jump through walls and doors and stuff like that, and some of them are still there and some of them aren't.
That's pretty cool.
Which is kind of cool. Oh, and they've put a half-assed photo mode in there as well.
Right, okay.
Which there's only about like 4 different poses and standing and stuff like that, and you can like change the costumes, but only in some levels and some games you can change the costumes and stuff like that. But I suppose that is what it is. But for 22 quid or whatever it was, it's got, it's worth that all day long. Because a lot of these older games, I don't think you can play them anywhere else legally unless you emulate them. Right. The originals aren't on Steam or anything like that.
No.
I mean, you can buy the PlayStation originals, but they're pretty expensive.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you can get them on PS... Didn't they turn the PS3 off yet, or are they about to, or did they turn it off last year?
I think they're about to at some point this year.
So if you owned them on there, you could play them on PS3. But if not, then you've got to try and buy the discs, and it probably costs you 20, 30 quid to just get the original one on disc, and then you've got to find a PlayStation to actually play it on if you haven't already got one. So, whereas this, you could get them all on all modern consoles. And I think this is on everything as well, Switch, and it runs really good. Like on the newer PS5 Series X, it's 4K 60, and on the PS4 and Xbox One, I think it's 1080p 60. Switch, I think it's 1080p 60, but obviously 720 on the dock, if you know what I mean, because that's all it does.
Well, to be fair, right, graphically, because I've literally just started playing it whilst we've been recording. I finished the first level, got halfway through the second one. Did the same save mistake that you mentioned.
I probably should have talked about this game first then, should I?
And I've tried both the control schemes, and I think the original controls actually...
Yeah.
I feel that the better, because the game's designed for that, right? That
Yeah.
was how it's designed for. So I haven't got a problem with that. However, I think graphically, I'm not surprised it runs well because obviously the PS1 graphics to that there is a big improvement, but still I don't think it holds up to say today's standards and graphics. I think it looks good, don't get me wrong, compared to the original, but I still don't think it's kind of oh yeah, next gen or it's
Oh no,
like
they've
it's been
just
built now.
basically
But
HD and retextured the original models
yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah,
gone over the
to
top. It's
keep it
not
as
a
the original
remake
as
or
well.
a remake. It's basically a reskin. There's so
yeah,
many like
yeah,
words, different word plays on stuff like that. But like I said, they've made the game play how you remember it. Like if you didn't have the older mode, the older
yeah,
graphics mode, when you flick between the two,
yeah, yeah,
in your brain you think that's how it played and how it looked on PS1.
yeah.
Because we always get that, don't we, when we go back and play these old games, we get the old console. I mean, I always keep a lot of my consoles out, but we go back and we play them and we're like, bloody hell, did it really look this shit? Why is Lara's boobs triangular and
Yeah.
things like that?
It's what we've said, the polygons.
That's what I'm
You go
saying, but
back to pixel games, they still look as perfect as you remember them.
yeah, but our brain, I think everything looks like a 360 game, like minimum.
Yeah.
And even those games don't look the best, but
Yeah.
I just think that's good what they've done. But like I said, they've already. I mean, what have they? So they've remade, remastered, and rebooted Tomb Raider. So they've pretty much done everything now on that. And apparently they're going to reboot it again, but obviously they're going to make Lara like ugly and chubby and a lesbian, I expect.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Or unless that's Indiana Jones, that's pretty much Lara Croft, isn't it?
Very much.
It was what it was inspired by, and then obviously Uncharted was inspired from Tomb Raider.
Yep, and then
the
Tomb
new
Raider...
Tomb Raiders were inspired by Uncharted.
Yep. Just worse versions of Uncharted.
A couple of them were decent.
I mean, the gameplay was good in them. It's just the story got a bit stupid, and then it just got collect this, collect that. It got all Ubisoft stuff like that. But but they're pretty good. I mean, I don't know. In my brain, I just want to get through 1 and 2 again because I've played 1 so many times. And digitally, like must have played it 2 or 3 times on PS1, and then again on PS2 because you put that smoothing graphics, didn't it? Which probably didn't do much, but in my head it did. And then I played it again on the PSP, handheld, and I even have it on the old N-Gage.
Oh wow!
Oh my god! I don't know how I beat that game on there because obviously the screen's a lot smaller, and it's like.
Yeah.
It's more of a vertical widescreen than a...
Yeah, it's bizarre. It's like a weird 4x3, but not even that.
Yeah, it's like it's not 4x3. It's like
4x3, but lengthways.
Yeah, long. Yeah, it's really Well, 4x3 is pretty much square, and it's as tall as was. I don't know which way 4x3 is. I suppose 3 is that way, so it's probably
3x4 or 3x5.
Something like so it's like tall, but it's like a phone screen, but yeah, I'm enjoying it, and hopefully I don't keep... Even though every time I tell myself, right, be careful, I'm going to save. And I did have a problem where I saved the game just like on the start of level 5. And I saved the game just as some lions started attacking me. So that's where I am at the moment. So that's kind of the thing. And there's no level select or anything like that.
Okay.
If you see what I mean. So if you die, it's like load your last save. It won't go back to the start of the level. So it's people who could do that and that break the game if someone wanted to be a moron. Like they could just have Lara leap into her doom and then pause the game mid sort of fall and then save the game, and that's where it is completely. So you could ruin someone's game completely, save it completely if they wanted to.
The traditional frustration of having that checkpoint reached in Call of Duty 2 Veteran on the 360 just before a mortar hits your fucking tower and
Yeah.
it auto kills you. And it's like, oh, fantastic. Now I have to restart the entire level from the beginning because every time my checkpoint loads, I just die straight away.
Yeah, but there's none of that in this at all. There's no checkpoints or back to the start of the level. It's basically if you, like I said, if you like haven't saved for a while and you die, you go back to that save. So even if you're 2 levels ahead, you won't go back to the start of the level. It's the save. So
Right,
I don't know
yeah.
if they'll patch something like that in. I don't know. It'd be nice if they did. Oh, but the which I found out today, the cheats from the original games do work in this one as well.
Oh, that's really cool.
So like the levels select, like I say, if you wanted to select a level, so those all work, like infinite ammo and stuff like that. And obviously, because
Big head
remember,
mode, is that still there? Was that
I
in there?
think that's 3. I don't 2 or 3. There was only about 3 cheats in one, like level select, infinite guns. I think that's it in that one. There was not been 3, and then in the next one they had they told everyone, because remember when the first one came out, everyone said there was like a nude raider patch, and
Oh,
the people
yeah.
were putting, oh, if you press the buttons to I remember one of the big one was to like Spice Girls, if you want to be my lover or something. I remember seeing in magazines. I was like, if you press this, blah 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 blah, you can do this, and she'll be naked. And obviously, it was just like photoshopped or someone done stuff on the PC version.
It's
And
probably the April edition of like a monthly computer magazine.
yeah, something like that. And I mean, they did like sexualize her a lot in the magazines and stuff like that. And then in the next one, they told everyone, which I thought was funny, oh, we found the nude raider cheat, and it's sort of like called nude raider cheat in the coding, but that's actually exploding Lara. So if you do that, Lara just explodes into like 15 different pieces and dies instantly. I think that's from 2 and 3 onwards, so that's quite cool. So Webby will be finding these cheats to get like infinite guns and ammo so we can finish the game. So what are you playing it on, Webby? Switch?
PC,
Or
mate.
PC? Well, you could have got it for free on Switch, or oh no, you can't anymore, can you?
No.
Oh, Webby.
It's all right, mate. Don't you worry about little old me. I'm all good.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's me done.
Cool. Anything else from you, Darren?
Yeah, a couple
Yeah.
of things I'll just mention. I've been going through Remnant 2 still with a friend, mopping up some of the weapons in that. We've now got all the classes. I still needed a weird class that you can only get from wearing a certain amount of items and going to a corrupted door. It apparently took the actual community a while to work out how to access this area.
Okay.
And it leads to one of the hardest to get classes, I would say. So we've both, me and my friend, have got all the classes now, like leveling them up and just mopping up a couple of the alternate weapons you can get from bosses by fighting them a different way or finishing them under certain conditions, etc.
Okay.
So it was that and Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. I've still been sort of dipping in and out of here and there every now and again. It's kind of weird. I still really like the game and I love it, but it hasn't had that like huge pull where I feel like, oh, I must put this on, like and carry on kind of thing. If that makes sense. I think you were having a similar thing, weren't you, Webby?
With what?
Or
Sorry, mate. Sorry, I said
with
something.
Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Like it's been like I still really enjoy it, but I haven't had like a massive pull to like, oh, I must play this constantly.
No, I played about 2 hours. I think I'm on like the 3rd or 4th chapter, and I don't know, man. I think for me, after coming off Infinite Wealth, spent 80 hours on it, and it was amazing. It blew me away. I think I started Grand Blue too soon after finishing it, and I'm just like, meh. It's not, great. And as you mentioned in the last podcast, where it's kind of expects you to know a little bit of the
Yeah, I will-
backstory because it tucks you straight in. It's just a
Yeah,
little bit.
I will say I did forget to mention this last week because I've been playing it. Obviously, I played it last week as well. There was something the game actually does that kind of alleviates that a little bit. So when you go to the quest counter, you can take part in something called like character episodes or something weird like that. And it does actually talk you through a couple of scenes of the backstory of the original thing of the characters. So you do find that out.
Okay.
So it is actually there, so you can actually find the background out of all these characters that are just suddenly together. Because, like I said previously, it felt like you're coming into a story halfway through it, whereas like half
Okay.
of the characters are already established, etc., etc. But yeah, there is a way of experiencing and knowing more about those characters and how they originally met the group and where they are now, etc. So that's kind of cool that they've actually got that there as well.
Yeah, that's cool. Fandabby dozy, mate.
So yes, that. Trying to think if there's been much else. Bit of 14 here and there, still doing bits and bobs. I think the Xbox Open Beta is about to sort of hit, isn't it? Soon, either this week or next.
Yeah.
I presume it's open. It's not closed. I also know that they have issued like a warning for players, like if you already have an account on the PC or the PlayStation, don't join the beta.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Because I think it's going to conflict with something or other, isn't it? With like the account or something, and they only want
Yeah.
it's like a stress test as well, because they're obviously going to have to bolster the servers to a certain degree to technically allow another entire platform's worth of people to have access to it.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what the servers are like. I mean, the game's pretty busy now. Whenever I log in, you go to any of the sort of main city states, there seems to be a lot of people hanging around. Less people will say in the latter sort of city states, but the opening three, there's just generally a lot of people there.
Yeah.
Even sort of like in the early mornings and stuff, there's been the odd queue here and there, etc. So still plenty of people playing it.
Yeah.
Obviously now just waiting for the release date for Dawn Trail, which is the new expansion, and I think the official release of the actual Xbox version.
Yeah.
Because they did it with the PS5 as well, didn't they? They had like a sort of like trial version that you could play with, and then they just upgraded it to the full one.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The one thing I find bizarre though, that I do actually find weird with it, so they're basically giving Xbox a version of the game, which is akin to obviously the versions on PC and PlayStation 5. But yet when the game is going to officially release for obviously the Xbox, part of the game's visuals are going to be altered.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so it's gonna be it's
Because
gonna be an
they're
interesting
going to be
time. Yeah.
they're doing like a slight upgrade to it. It's not like a major upgrade. In fact, I wouldn't even say the difference in it is going to be even like what you was talking about with Tomb Raider. It's going to be kind of like an in between that. It's
Yeah.
the same sort of thing, just more smooth and like textures looking slightly better
Yeah.
for a lot of the outfits, etc. Because it's another one of those games where what your character's wearing and everything is part of your character, because the entire game centers around your character.
That's right.
It
Yeah.
is like a one where you literally feel like you create someone to experience this world through their eyes.
Right.
And with those types of games, you're generally zoomed out of your character quite a bit
Yeah.
because you want to see what the hell's going on. But obviously, there's going to be times you're like, no, I want to see how fucking awesome I look. And then you'll zoom the camera in and it looks fine, looks perfectly fine. But if you zoom in really close on some of those old textures, they don't look that brilliant at all. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not too fussed with it, to be honest, because like we're old bastards. We grew up with games that look like fucking Game & Watch, etc. Like silhouettes moving around.
Yeah.
Not actually having a full 3D rendered character you've created and an outfit coloured to your specific look, etc.
Yeah.
That's why I always say there's games nowadays, but even the shit games can still look good. Apart from maybe things like Gollum and obviously King Kong or whatever that came out last year that were like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
But yeah,
Brilliant.
let's get on to the news, I guess, if you've got the now tells.
Yeah, so there's been some interesting things this past week. So obviously Xbox have had their update podcast thingy. I watched
Didn't
it. It was
listen
only
to it, but I sort of saw it on Twitter afterwards.
yeah, so it was only about 20 odd minutes, just over 20 minutes long. And it was quite interesting because it's all the shite on Twitter and the interwebs was just blown way out of proportion from the sounds of things.
Doesn't sound like social media.
I know. So there's actually only 4 games going to PlayStation. They are 2 games that have been out for quite a long time, over a year, and the other 2 games are smaller indie type games. Now they haven't said what the games are, but obviously the rumors are Sea of Thieves. Pentiment is one that's been floating around. Hi-Fi Rush, maybe Grounded. You know, those are the sort of games. Who gives a shit, right? I was looking at the rumors of the games. I'm like, well, you know, if it was like Halo or Gears or something, I could see why people would get upset. But you know,
Yeah, sort of like big first party games, not like third party. It's like the Helldivers thing.
Yeah, that's
Everyone's
right.
like, oh, it's like Helldivers too. It's on this PC day and date and all. It's like, yeah, but it's like it's a third party developer under it. It's not one of their big heavy hitters.
Yeah,
It's kind of like an indie studio stuff. So a lot of those games that are in that, I could see sort of coming across. And then Phil Spencer, I think, did say that he wouldn't rule out that any game could come to any platform in the future, which is fair because he could say, "Oh, we'll never put an Xbox game on the PlayStation, etc., or we don't want to put an Xbox game on the PlayStation." Then in like 20 years' time, maybe the game comes across and someone will be like, "Oh, this is bullshit." Do you remember when Phil said that they'd never stick a game on?
Yeah, dig him up out of his grave and have a go at him.
Yeah, there's that, and but he did say that Indiana Jones is definitely not going to any other console. He did say that in the podcast because that was.
I mean, it's nice to squash all the kind of stuff early before obviously any rumours get worse. It's just strange that it wasn't such a huge deal anyway. What they were babbling on about.
Yeah.
That they couldn't have, when the rumours first dropped, just gone, right, quick lads, let's do an emergency recording. Let's quash this within a couple of days.
Sometimes
they let it go on
silence and
for
not
well
saying
over a week or
anything.
so.
I mean,
and the
if you don't
silence
say
made it
anything,
worse.
If you don't say anything, people will
and
admit
the
that
corporate speak as well that
I
gets
suppose
in
the
the way of real communication.
market was going to crash as well, wasn't it? Or won't crash, but that's probably done for that. But it's just stupid how they all do the same stuff. Like everyone went mad when they said Xbox are going to launch the games on the Xbox PC app thing. Oh, so what's the point of buying an Xbox then? PlayStation don't release their games on PC. Oh, and would you look at that? PlayStation are releasing their games on PC. But they're not charging you the same price again to buy it on PC. If you've got it, you could just use it. I think Phil Spence did dig that in a few times, didn't he? You know, and he said if you buy a new PC or a Steam Deck, you could just play it. You know, your library follows with you. And he just said, that's what we want to do. We want to make sure you keep it.
Yeah.
So kind of a nothing story everyone overreacted to.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, so...
But yeah, and they did say they are working on the next console as well. I think there's one coming out this year, like a slim version of the Series X. And
is that the one that looks like a Sonos speaker or something?
Maybe. I don't know if that is the official one, but it's that. But I do think that people will not want consoles before they stop bringing them out. Do you know what I mean? If people want to buy them in their 10s, 20s, 30s, 50 millions, they will make them. If people stop buying them, they won't make them, will they? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just think that we are going all digital and all stream and cloud and all that eventually. No one really wants it now. But we accept Netflix and streaming the movies. I mean, I used to buy loads of DVDs, Blu-rays, then 4Ks. I hardly buy any now. I'm lucky if I buy 3 or 4 movies a year physically.
And do you want to know why that is?
Because they're all shit.
Because the films are shit.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, plus, like I said, I can acquire them elsewhere, or watch them at the cinema, cinema and stuff like that. And it's just, I only tend to buy movies that I know I'm going to watch multiple times anyway, and stuff like that.
I only ever buy films I've already seen. I know that sounds weird, but I'm no way spending money on something I don't know what it's like. It could be toilet.
Yeah,
like back in the day, I wouldn't care less about going out and buying like 3 or 4 random films down the DVD or Tesco's or whatever, and think, oh yeah, I'll watch them.
Yeah, I used to.
And like you generally had like a good 75 to 80%. Yeah, that wasn't bad.
I mean, at least they were watchable.
Yeah. And now you sort of get partway through something like, fuck is this?
I mean, saying that, I bought The Flash, but I enjoyed that movie, so. Because I saw it at the cinema and I enjoyed it, it's fine. That's why I'll buy it. But some other movies now, it's just like, I'll just wait for it to come, like on, the dodgy websites, or wait for it to come on Netflix and things like that. And I was going through Netflix the other day. I'm like, I remember wanting to see that ages ago. Add to watch list. I'll watch that in 5 years.
Oh, I've seen a couple of decent films recently, though, I will say.
Only 2? Because I think that's only 2 good come out.
Well, one of them was recently old. It was a Netflix film, Hustle. I watched. I quite enjoyed that. Adam Sandler, he's like a basketball scout.
Oh, yeah. That's added to the list.
Philadelphia 76ers. That was good. And a recent one, The Beekeeper with Jason Statham.
Oh, yeah, I've acquired that.
If you like John Wick... If you like John Wick, you'll like The Beekeeper.
Yeah, that's what
It's not kind of as stylized, but the character is very much the same kind of like, nah, mate, I'm going to come through you like fucking a knife through butter, and there's not much you can do about it. It's pretty good in that regard.
Nice.
It's a good Jason Statham film, anyway.
He does some occasionally.
Yeah, I'd say it's up there with like Transporter level, when he was like kind of making his name. Yeah.
Very often. I mean, he's getting a little bit Bruce Willis, put his name on some absolute shit, but.
Well, I didn't watch the last Expendables, but I didn't hear good things.
Oh, that was not good.
Because I didn't like the third one. And the second one was
slightly worse throughout.
Yeah.
I mean, the last one was really good. That what was it? Sylvester Stallone thought it'd be good to pretend to be dead for 95% of the movie.
Spoilers.
I don't give a shit, mate.
Someone was just like, I was going to watch that tonight, you bastard.
Oh, spoilers! He turns up in the end in a helicopter and saves the day.
Is there any more news, Webby? I know I will mention as well. I think I'll just, because I doubt this is on your news, but isn't The Nightingale releasing soon on PC and early access? Very soon.
No idea, mate.
I think that's going to be another game that's going to kind of blow up a little bit. If it's as good as it kind of looked from the trailers and everything, it's another one of those sort of survival games, but it's in a very fantastical, weird and wonderful kind of setting with fantastical creatures and other bits and bobs, but it's very sort of darkish as well. It's not like cutesy wootsy, we'll say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that could be a good thing to watch out for.
Yeah, cool.
Hopefully it launches well. It's not one of those that ends up like having a failed access. everyone remembers fantastic things like, what was it, fucking Gary's mod or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, Gary's mod for the win.
But yeah,
I know,
sorry, I cut
Elliot.
you off.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. Where was I?
News.
Yeah, so they also said in this Xbox podcast thing that the next Xbox is in development and it's going to be the largest technical leap in consoles yet. But they say that every fucking time, so.
Yeah.
But then there's also rumours that, I think I mentioned this last week, I can't remember, that the new consoles are coming out in 2026, so in 2 years, and there's going to be two SKUs. One of them a bog standard powerhouse, and the other one's going to be like a Nintendo Switch clone, Steam Deck clone type thing, where it's portable, but you can dock it, which I would love to see something like that, to be fair, and I think a lot of people would. So that's quite cool. A bit of Sony news is obviously we've had all the news about Xbox multi-platform, wow. However, Sony put out a statement last week saying something a little bit similar, that their plans going forward are going to be pushing their studio games more to other platforms, but they didn't say which platforms. So obviously, I'm thinking PC.
PC, yeah.
Yeah. However, MLB The Show is on Xbox every single year, and that's a Sony studio game, but they were made to do that by the MLB. But I think that with the fact that Helldivers are sold so well on Steam, that Sony are hopefully going to push their exclusives onto PC day and date with PlayStation, because I think the reason why the exclusives haven't sold well in the past is because they've been coming out a couple of years after they've been released on the PS5, right?
Yeah, and that's why they're selling a lot of consoles.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this is the thing. If they do that, I can see them doing it eventually anyway, but
Yeah.
the sooner they do it, the sooner they kind of fuck themselves and just turn into a publisher.
Yeah. So,
Well, if they're going to
obviously
release system sellers, they're going to sell systems, aren't they? And people are going to buy them, and they're not going to get it on PC later.
But I think there is a big caveat there, guys. Whereas there's a lot of people out there, who don't want to game on PC, right?
Or don't want to game on console and just want to play. I know some give up, and he's just got like gaming laptop, and he loves playing it on
that. Yeah, but the thing is, right? It's a lot of people just want a PlayStation. It's 450 quid. You put your game in and it works, right? Or you spend £2,000-3,000 on a PC to play those same games. Yeah, there isn't always a lot of crossover. PC gaming's its own thing. It's very expensive to get into, and console gamers generally don't want to touch it. So I think there's still going to be a lot of room for PlayStation if they launch the games day and date on PC as well, to be fair. So
there's a reason why Nintendo are in first place, and there's also a reason why they don't release their games on other platforms.
Wow.
If they did, they wouldn't be in first place.
Well, they dabbled into mobile, didn't they?
Yeah.
But they were mobile type. They never released the actual games on there. They make mobile versions.
But then you say that, Darren, but Square Enix are not happy with how their games have sold on the PS5 because they've undersold games like Final Fantasy 16 as a prime example. And
these are still rumours. I think we did talk about it at the time.
Yeah.
All it takes is for a publication to say something, and everyone goes. But I've heard also that they were very happy with the numbers that were sold for it.
Yeah. So
obviously, you can't look at it and go like, "Oh, it's going to sell as well as Final Fantasy 14."
Yeah.
Like, they're completely different types of games.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to think this is a Square Enix that took a huge financial hit from Forspoken.
Yeah.
And they were like obviously reeling for that, and that basically fucked their profits or whatever it was for the year. So there's a lot of factors that come in.
Yeah, plus Forspoken was crap.
Yeah, biggest pile of tosh ever, mate. And the last bit of news, I think you'll be very happy with, Darren, after complaining last week about the Final Fantasy VII Rebirth demo and the graphics.
Yeah, I heard this.
All right, yeah.
Yeah, so Square have said that in the full game they have fixed the graphics and it's going to look a lot better in the full version on the performance mode.
Fair enough. And the fact that it allows you to switch between it on the fly is good in itself anyway.
Yeah, without
so
having to
you can
restart
always
the
check
game.
it.
Yeah.
I think they patched that into the demo as well.
Yeah.
I'm sure I read that as well. Yeah, but I've rinsed it, so I'm waiting now until I think it's at the 22nd, 20th. I can't remember now.
Next week.
Yeah, for the extra stuff for the demo, the Junion open area bit. Yeah, so all good. That's all my news, guys. Anything from you? No? Okay.
Not that I can think of, but I will probably think of something after we've finished.
There's a few rumours going out that but then this is rumours on top of rumours, obviously, that the Switch 2 that was supposed to come out this year has been delayed till next year.
Not surprised.
Nintendo rumours are the craziest, I will say. Yeah.
And then there's people on YouTube arguing with each other about the rumours, which is quite weird.
Very strange.
Yeah, Switch 2 will come out when it come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see where they go with it. Like I'll say, it has to be the same kind of thing.
I just want them to
be backwards compatible for the.
It has to.
Original
I don't
Switch.
think they'd be.
I've heard a rumour that they're actually playing your Switch games on the newer system will apparently make them run better and perform better, which would be fantastic because it would breathe a lot of life into games that people have already played or gone through.
Just because they haven't never called anything the 2, have they? That's not a Nintendo thing. So I wonder if they call
it'd be kind of weird what they're going to do with that because everyone knew what happened with the dreaded Wii U.
Yeah, still wasn't the Wii 2, was it? But I think everyone was saying that the favourite, I don't know if Nintendo will do that, but the favourite name is the Super Switch. Like the Super Nintendo and stuff like that.
That would be pretty cool, yeah.
Yeah, I think people would get that. I bought a new Super Switch.
But then again, people might be like, oh, SS.
Oh, great.
You know what the internet's like.
Oh, yeah. Cool. Well, that's the end of the show then, guys. It's been awesome. Yay. So, from me, Mark Webb, Gamertag, PSN ID, Steam ID, Webby360G.
Nick Fights on Twitter and Twitch.
So Switch.
So, thank you very much. We will see you next week. Goodbye.